I'm Bonnie Lee, the host of Writing About Crime, a Canadian true crime podcast that looks for the story behind criminal cases. The people, the places, and the events that join together to create a narrative, not a scoop. I am not reading you the news. I am writing about crime. I hope you'll join me on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Dawn Glanz was an art historian and professor at Bowling Green State University in Northwest Ohio. After 25 years of distinguished teaching and involvement with various committees, councils, and the faculty senate, she retired in 2003. 10 years later, on May 9, 2013, she would be murdered in her own home. From the South Shore of Lake Erie, this is Great Lakes True Crime. Before we continue, just a quick reminder to please leave a 5-star review for us on your favorite podcast app and follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @GreatLakesCrime, or if you prefer, you can follow us on Facebook. Just search for Great Lakes True Crime. Thanks for your help with that. As a professor, Dawn Glanz specialized in American art of the 19th and 20th centuries, art of Western and Northern Europe, and modern art. In addition to her professor work at Bowling Green, she gave lectures at presentations across America. Dawn was a published author in professional journals and also authored the book on art during the settling of the American frontier. She was a creative teacher and connected with her students more than most professors do. She developed a semester-long graduate seminar on portraiture that ended with a potluck meal that became its own assignment. Each participant's food contribution had to be a self-portrait. That's the kind of things she came up with to keep her students engaged, and it seemed to really resonate with them. In fact, one of her colleagues, Ms. Skinner Green, said, "That kind of thing is brilliant. She was making this connection between art history and the personal side. There were students from different disciplines. She was having them think about this idea of portraiture in a creative way." Dawn was born on June 9, 1946, in Hollywood, California, and grew up in nearby Manhattan Beach. Dawn majored in English after an advisor discouraged her from pursuing zoology and math since she was a woman. She eventually earned a bachelor's degree from the prestigious Pomona College. Dawn went on to earn a master's degree in art history from Columbia University and a doctorate from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. She maintained her interest in literature and was a member of the Shakespeare Roundtable in Bowling Green. Friends and relatives described Dawn as vivacious, generous, spirited, and not afraid to stand up for herself if she felt strongly about something. Oh, and besides all those things, she was also wealthy. Dawn had inherited a substantial amount of money from her father, who was a prominent attorney, and she also had her own successful career. Her net worth was about $2.6 million. Bowling Green sits about 20 miles south of Toledo in northwest Ohio and has a population of about 30,000 people. It was first settled in 1832, incorporated as a town in 1855, and became a city in 1901. The town was named after Bowling Green, Kentucky, by a retired postal worker who had once delivered mail there. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, Bowling Green experienced an oil boom, which led to the construction of many stately houses and elaborate commercial buildings downtown. The city is also home to Bowling Green State University, one of the premier public universities in Ohio, having received many awards and accolades for a number of its academic programs. It's also known for its elite athletic programs, having produced a national championship in men's ice hockey, a U.S. figure skating national champion in Alicia Shisney, an Olympic gold medalist figure skater in Scott Hamilton, and a World Series champion and Cy Young Award winner in Oral Hershiser. The university also helped launch the careers of comedian Tim Conway and actress Eva Marie Saint. At the time of Dawn's death, she was survived by her husband, Robert Brown, who goes by Bob, whom she married October 10, 2001. She was also survived by a stepson, a sister, a brother, and a grandson. Dawn married Bob later in life. It was her first marriage, and they had an unusual arrangement. She lived in Bowling Green while he lived in Toledo. They'd see each other every few days. According to Bob, living in Toledo made it more convenient for his business dealings. On May 9, 2013, Bob found Dawn's lifeless body on the bathroom floor at her home in Bowling Green. He called 911 and told the dispatcher that it looked like she had fallen on the floor or maybe had a stroke. When asked if she was breathing, he replied, "No, she's cold." When EMTs arrived, they surmised that perhaps Dawn had had a heart attack and hit her head. In any case, the death was not considered suspicious at all. That is, until Bowling Green police received an anonymous phone call. The phone call came from a female just minutes before Dawn's body was to be cremated at Dunn's funeral home. The caller stated that she suspected the death was not an accident and should be investigated further. So the cremation was called off, an investigation was launched, and an autopsy was performed by the Lucas County Coroner's Office. The autopsy revealed that the caller was correct and the death was a homicide, not an accident or natural causes. Someone had struck Dawn with a sharp instrument like a screwdriver or ice pick in the back of her head near the bottom of her hairline. The coroner determined that she actually died from a heart attack brought on by the trauma of the attack. She had likely been murdered right before she went to bed or right after, as she was wearing a nightgown and her glasses were off. If the cremation had gone through as planned, someone definitely would have gotten away with murder. It literally was only minutes before the planned cremation that the process was halted. By the time the autopsy results were released, however, much of the physical evidence at the scene had been cleaned up. What investigators did know was there were no signs of forced entry, no sexual assault, and nothing was stolen. It seemed that the perpetrator entered the home, killed her, and quickly left. Investigators worked on the assumption that Dawn's killer was someone that she knew. The most obvious motive for her murder was her money that would be left in her will. Of course, police looked at her husband Bob as a person of interest. Bob was said to have a very calm, measured personality, and some would use the term detached to describe him. Dawn's good friend Lynn stated that she noticed a change in Dawn in the time before her death. Normally feisty and opinionated, she now seemed less spirited and more compliant to Bob's wishes. Lynn also noticed some physical changes. Dawn struggled with her words and seemed to have a fogginess about her. Her health in general seemed to be declining. Being a Christian Scientist, Dawn did not see doctors, but Lynn stated that Bob introduced her to many nutritional supplements and homeopathic remedies. With all that being said, Dawn was reportedly getting better just before her murder. Lynn wasn't the only person who noticed changes in Dawn after she met Bob. Her sister Gail also noticed the changes. As much as Dawn loved teaching, she told Gail that she was going to retire from teaching because, quote, "Bob says they're taking advantage of me." And although she was a very devout Christian Scientist, Gail says that Dawn decided to leave that church. The reason? Quote, "Bob says they're taking advantage of me." According to Gail, Dawn was a completely different person. Dawn met Bob in 1999, and within a few months, she changed her will to leave all of her real estate to Bob. This was 2 years before they were married. Bob said the night before the murder they had gone to dinner at Five Guys, and after that he dropped her off at the house in Bowling Green, and he went to his home in Toledo. When he couldn't get a hold of her the next morning, he said, he drove down to check on Dawn, and that's when he found her body. Photographs of Dawn's body show her laying flat on her back with her arms and legs stretched out. The television program Cold Justice covered this murder in 2018, about 5 years after Dawn's murder. Experts on that show stated that it appears her body had been repositioned, possibly to conceal the head wound. It was also stated that killers who know their victims will often reposition the victim's clothing out of respect or modesty. It appeared that Dawn's clothing had been repositioned. Another aspect of this episode of Cold Justice, which can be found on YouTube, by the way, was a deeper look into that dinner at Five Guys. Surveillance videos show that Bob's Honda CR-V was in fact in the parking lot, but what is not clear is whether there is a passenger in the vehicle. What is clear is that Bob walked into Five Guys and placed an order without Dawn. She's nowhere to be seen in the video. What is also clear is that the food that Bob received fit into a very small bag, and he bought only one beverage. No definite conclusions can be drawn from the video, but there appears to be a strong likelihood that Bob was there alone and only purchased food for one person. If true, that would mean that Bob was untruthful about his recount of the events that night, and it begs the question, where was Dawn? In police interviews, Bob suggested they look at Josh, his adopted son from a previous marriage. Now talk about throwing someone under the bus, his own adopted son, nonetheless. Josh has been described as being a physically large man, angry, and had a history of being arrested on drug charges. When police went to interview Josh at his work, they said he was unhappy to see them at the very least. Police said he was red-faced and visibly tensed up with clenched fists and grinding teeth. However, in a follow-up interview with the TV crew, Josh was very forthcoming, calm, and not at all evasive. He said that he loved Dawn and is still grieving about her death. He also has a confirmed alibi for the night she was murdered. The TV crew for Cold Justice also tried to interview Bob himself. However, there was no answer at the door when they attempted to reach him. A business card was left in hopes that Bob would contact the crew, but that didn't happen. A return trip to the house by Bowling Green police found that the business card was gone, but Bob still did not answer the door and had not contacted the investigators. An interview was granted by Dawn's former financial advisor, Tyne, however. Tyne stated that while Dawn had about $1 million invested with her, Bob had only about $12,000. Dawn later asked that Bob be granted monthly distributions from her account. A year or two after that, Dawn told Tyne that Bob wanted to invest in a condominium development and that she would need to withdraw a significant amount of money for that purpose. Tyne's opinion of Bob was that he married Dawn for her money. When she heard about Dawn's death, Tyne was immediately suspicious. In fact, it turns out that she was the anonymous tipster who got the whole murder investigation going. Homicides are exceedingly rare in the quaint town of Bowling Green, and unsolved homicides are even more rare. In fact, this case is the only cold homicide case that the city has had for many, many years, even decades. It appears that the 2018 episode of Cold Justice has shed new light on the case and created some momentum toward getting the case solved. The Wood County Prosecutor's Office has some renewed interest, and they may be taking action in the near future. If you have any information on this case, please call Bowling Green Police Division at 419-352-1131 or call Wood County Crime Stoppers at 419-352-0077. Those providing information are eligible for a cash reward of up to $10,000, and you can remain anonymous when calling Crime Stoppers. For Great Lakes True Crime, this has been your host and producer, Steve. If you like the show, please tell a friend about it, and thanks for listening, guys.